That's one problem. The other problem, as you know, is that Islam, in the same chapter, Surah 33, verses 4 to 5, Allah abolishes adoption in Islam. Right? He says, no longer call them by their adopted parents' names. Call them by their original father's names, which means you're not adopting them, right? So to be clear, in Islam, you can take care of an orphan or something like that.
That's right, but you cannot adopt them.
Yeah, you don't adopt them. They don't become part of your family. And so adoption is abolished in Islam in Surah 33 of the Quran. So Allah says, I mean, think about this. Think about the God. Muslims, think about the God you're serving here, right? Allah says in the same chapter that he says, Muhammad, I need you. You absolutely must marry the divorced wife of your own adopted son, because I need all these guys out here to understand that when they have an adopted son, they can take their adopted son's wives. I need everyone to understand that. And in the same chapter, he abolishes adoption so that situation is never going to exist again.
Yeah. I mean, think about it, brother. One lustful action by one man who supposedly to be the model for mankind, the mercy for mankind, destroyed a marriage, destroyed the act of compassion to adopt people who are fatherless or maybe didn't have any family, orphans, if you wish, and exposed that the God of Islam actually is a God of lust that promotes lust, does not rebuke lust. Compare this to how the God of the Bible have rebuked prophets, like David, for instance, for lusting after someone else's basically wife.
Yeah, and not to mention just apparently Allah is just completely clueless that I don't need to do this because I'm already abolishing adoption. There's no basis for this. There's no reason.
Right.
So it's just a very, very weird situation. But lots of Muslims become troubled by this passage. There are many Muslims who their journey out of Islam started with realizing this. Wait a minute. This is why Allah is telling Muhammad to marry the wife of his own adopted son, so that other people will understand that it's a good thing to do. It's fine with Allah. But then the situation's never going to rise again. This sounds like Muhammad is just receiving revelations to justify his behaviors, right, which sounds an awful lot like what Aisha said about him. Your Lord hastens to satisfy your wishes and desires. So lots of people who are leaving Islam, it has a lot to do with this passage. But notice, if you leave Islam and you become an atheist, what basis do you really have for saying that someone should not marry the wife of his own adopted son, or that someone should not receive revelations to justify this sort of thing, or that